Hey everybody, it's Adam from IHP. It's 2017. Happy New Year to everybody. And this is episode 1 of season 3 of JC Unplugged. And just like anything else, we just get right into the questions. So Carlos, here we go. Do you have anything to say?
No, 2016 was awesome. 2017 is going to be even better. We have a great staff, great energy, lots of great projects coming up. So let's get going. I'm super excited.
All right, question number 1. What would you perceive as IHP's favorite functional hamstring protocol?
Triple threat.
Okay.
Easy. It's done with the stability ball. It's a bridge. It's a leg curl and a hip lift. And the only difference between the bridge is underneath the heels. Okay. The leg curl is like this. And the hip lift, you have to walk it out with your legs because the ball is under the balls of your feet. It presents a longer lever arm than this one here, and it really brings in the gas drop at controlling knee flexion there. So, boom, boom, boom. We have a 20-week program. We start with 5, 5, and 5. You add, with a 2-leg, you add 1 rep every week. At week number 11, you go to a single leg, which is like this. Okay? And then you go 5, 5, and 5. The other leg, 5, 5, and 5. You add 1 rep per week. So in 20 weeks, you're going to 15, 15, and 15 with a single leg. All right? So we have that progression available through the website. We have it in the new book, Functional Training. And we have it also on the program design book as well.
Okay. When you're training fighters, MMA or boxing, what goes into determining the length of their conditioning circuits?
When I'm training fighters or when I'm training anybody, the length of the metabolic circuits should be the length of the activity. So if we're training boxers, the length of the metabolic circuit should be about 3 minutes. If we're training MMA fighters, the length of the metabolic circuits are 5 minutes. But if you were training a slalom skier, and let's say the average run is 80 seconds, then your circuits would be 80 seconds. The leg cranks would be something that would be perfect for that, because when you get really cranking on them, it's about 80 to 90 seconds that you would be working. So those types of approaches are what we use to creating metabolics. Every once in a while, we'll add a pre-fatigue component. So for example, our fighters that go 5 minutes will add a 30-second hit at the versicliner, which goes before the circuit, just to make them feel already tired when they go into the circuit. So they're already, when they go into a round, they know what it is to feel super tired. So that circuit will be 5.5 minutes. But that 30-second pre-fatigue, we don't count that. So it's specific to the time allotted. A lot of people will overtrain, overrun. They'll get ready for seven rounds if they're going to only fight 5. I think that's a terrible idea because you pace yourself for 7 rounds. So if you know you're going to train for 10 rounds, but you're only going to compete for 8 or 5, then you pace yourself. The training is teaching you how to pace yourself for 10. So when somebody comes in and takes you at a hard 5-round pace, you're not used to that. So although you have more volume of training, you have less conditioning. So that's why it's key to teach your people pacing. Teach your people how to go hard for the amount of time. Don't overtrain them for time, because you're actually making them worse.
But is there anything what determines your different exercise stations? So
specific.
You may have bob and weave, you may have ground and pound. You may then have them run in, do the speed bag.
We create exercises that are specific to the sport, all right? So we're not going to have a lot of clinching in boxing, because there's boxing, not much clinching. The referee will come and separate you. But we have a lot of clinching in wrestling and in judo and in MMA. So the cardiovascular conditioning that we provide is very, very, very specific. Because you can get cardiovascular conditioning swimming, running, and doing isometric contractions and doing very fast circuitry for wrestlers. All of them need cardiovascular conditioning, but if you train a wrestler cardiovascularly by swimming him, he's going to get crushed. If you train a swimmer wrestling, he's going to get crushed. And if you train both of them running, they're going to get crushed. But if you train a basketball player with isometric contractions, he's not going to be able to run. So cardiovascular conditioning, like proprioception, like everything else, is very specific. So we use the specific movements that are going to get the person tired when they're doing the activity.
All right. What kind of training do you think is best for fat loss?
Fat loss is a function of energy. It's a function of energy. That's like saying, what profession do you think will be best for saving money? And you go, that has nothing to do with saving money, because if you make a lot of money and you overspend, that's not saving money. Saving money is a function of how you manage. Fat loss is also a function of how you manage. It's the opposite of saving. It's effectively spending. So it's not a function of training so much as a function of energy. Now, if you can go hard, interval training has pretty much outworked or outperformed just about any other method of fat loss. Why? Because of the EPOC curve. Although the work done, okay, when you go high intensity, you burn, but most of this is sugar because you need it. And then this starts happening. If you jog 3 miles, this is what happens. Boom. If you work 10 reps, 30 seconds on that VersaClimber, it's done here. Okay? If you're running 3 miles, it's done here. But look at what happens. Your heart stays elevated so fast that all of this is fat. When you don't work very hard, you come back to normal relatively quick. The problem is that everybody should be doing this. This will outperform anything in terms of morbidity, mortality, fitness, everything. The problem is not everybody can do this. This hurts. This is hard. And if you've had a hard day at work, you don't want to do this. You're more inclined to do that. So what I say to people is diet is number 1 for fat loss. You ask any bodybuilder, that's what they'll tell you. The competition is won in the last 2 weeks, okay? But what do? Well, the days you're tired, you do this type of training. That's why I leave it open, especially with people that work and have heavy schedules. Do something every day. You don't feel like going hard? Walk. Then give me this. Walk, okay? You're gung-ho, you got an edge, give me interval. Give me something in between. So now you have the best of all worlds. At the end of the day, if you don't have a caloric loss, you're not going to lose fat, period. The problem is you can't make the caloric loss only through calories. There's the problem. Because if you drop the calories, your thyroid will pick it up and your body will drop the metabolic rate. So the cool thing is, so you don't mess up your thyroid, is to try to stay, if you're normally burning this, to stay here. And make this caloric loss very small. Very small. Do it through the thermic effect of food and do it through NEAT. Don't do it through calorie deprivation. Thermic effect of food is if you eat a lot of protein, a lot of vegetables, a lot of low glycemic berries, you will burn as much as 20% on average of your calories just through digestion. Okay? NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is what you do when you're not exercising and when you're just not breathing. What do you do for work? How many steps do you take? Are you moving? This is where you can make the big difference. Right? This, the body doesn't pick up very easy. The thyroid, especially if one day you're this negative, the next day you're break even, the next day you're like this, the next day you're like that. Your thyroid will never pick it up. If you just are burning 2,500 and you go to 1,200 and you stay there for a month, you're done. You drop 10 pounds, you feel great, and now you can't even lose any more weight because your metabolic rate has dropped 20%. Now you're in trouble. So I know I'm taking a long time, but this is very complex. It's really easy if you know it, but it's very complex because there are a lot of factors. Weight loss has to be slow and part of your lifestyle, and it has to be like this, so your thyroid doesn't pick it up. That's the secret. So it's not that easy if you don't know what you're doing.
Food, however you want to term it,
It's everything.
because clients are only with us 1 hour a week, at the most maybe 3 hours a week. So they're trying to get it through exercise when they're only training 3 hours a week, and we don't know what they're doing on their own.
You can't undo, the food today is so rich, you can't undo a bad diet with exercise. It's impossible. A 150-pound man will burn around 4,500 calories, 5,000 calories in a marathon. In a marathon, that's 1.5 pounds. Who runs a marathon? Who runs a marathon? Who runs a marathon every day? Yeah, you can run one marathon, but that's 4,500 calories. If you want to drop two your body for a month, your metabolic rate is going to drop from 1,500, from 2,000, wherever it is. It's going to go like this, wham! And now the walk, the 1 hour walk that you do to be in the negative, just barely breaks your even. And now you can't sustain that. So that's why at 3 years out, 5 years out, the weight loss industry it's got like a 99% failure rate because nobody can sustain that. So the key thing is drop the weight without the thyroid picking up the weight loss, the minus.
All right. This has to do with kids and training. What are your thoughts on kids doing an exercise program, and how do you sell the parents on this? Because there are some parents out there who think that training is going to stunt their growth.
Yeah, pretty much the studies are pretty much conclusive that kids as early as 8 years of age have already been studied doing heavy resistance training. I mean heavy triples, heavy fours, heavy fives. No stunted growth, nothing wrong. They get stronger. The only problem is that since they don't have enough testosterone, they haven't been through puberty, they lose their strength. They pick up a little on the neural side. In other words, the learning the movement, that kind of stays with them, and that's awesome if they're going to be developing into athletes. And it's just to normal people that should be able to move their bodies. But the strength or the muscle size is not going to be big because they don't have enough hormonal milieu of it. And then also when they stop lifting the weight, the strength kind of drops significantly. Once they pass through puberty, then they're able to keep the muscle gain, and actually it accelerates. But weight training is kids. I mean, most kids, you'll give them a little orange dumbbell that weighs 2 pounds, and when you're 5 years old and you're taking video of your kid doing exercise, you think it's cute. Nobody's ever stunted a growth because of that. Okay, well, so where's the cutoff? If 2.5 pound dumbbells is okay, or 3 pound dumbbells, or 5 pound dumbbells? And the answer is it's all appropriate as long as the form is good and the volume of work is reasonable. The biggest problem you have is epiphyseal plates. If you fracture that, but to fracture that, you have to have trauma, or you have to just have insane impact alone, which is normally not seen.
Right. And that can kind of parlay into, don't have the kids do plyometric training, but if you go to any park,
they're the kings of plyometric. Are you kidding me?
All over the place.
Yeah, don't have your kids skip. Don't have your kids gallop, prance, do whatever it is that they do on the playgrounds. Are you crazy? When have you been to a playground that's like, kids, hey, don't jump off the bench? That's the ultimate in depth jumps. That's the ultimate in plyometrics, and they do it all the time. They don't weigh a whole lot. Their skeletal system is very pliable. The key thing is volume. Volume and what you're doing. Kids that are 6, 7, 8 years old can participate in an exercise program. It just has to be reasonable, well-directed, and the exercises have to be appropriate at the appropriate intensity. Any personal trainer worth their salt can manage that.
Okay, let's see what we got here. When doing glute training, RDLs, hip thrust, bridges, what are some of the cues you can pass on to clients to get them to activate the glutes?
Squeeze your ass. That's like the big one. Squeeze your butt. Squeeze your butt. Other than that, you might give them a landmark. Bring your hips this high. A lot of them will arch with the thoracic spine and lumbar spine to try to get their ribs up, and they don't fire their glutes. So you might want to catch that. And that you'll know that that's happening because they'll have pressure in their lower back. So if you're doing the glute thrust that our friend Brett Contreras does, or the mini pumps that he does, or the butterfly pumps that we showed him with, if you do that, you can actually bring this up like that with the thoracic spine, and you don't feel it in your glutes at all. So there's little techniques that you can use, bringing the chin up, getting into a crunch position, then firing the hips. That's a good one. So when we're doing those hip thrusts, if you feel that if they're telling you they don't feel it in the glutes, do this. Instead of here, bring your chin down. The chin down kind of almost initiates a crunch. When you initiate the crunch, you take the thoracic extension and high lumbar extension out of it. When you do that and then fire your glutes, it's a different monster. And that's when you start feeling the glutes really, really awesome. When you're doing the Brett Contreras hip thrust, remember, these things are pretty cool because the range of motion is very short. And when the range of motion is very short, you can burn the living daylights out of the glutes, but you don't have a whole lot of delayed on muscle soreness because the eccentric component is really not there. It doesn't stretch out like an RDL or like a good morning. It's a very short range of motion. Pumps the living daylights out of the glutes, doesn't cause a whole lot of, if any, delayed muscle soreness. That's one of the things we like about that type of exercise, that hip thrust.
Also, on the first exercise of the triple threat, we can shorten the lever arm on that to try to get more of the glute going.
Yeah, you can bend the knees, you can do a bunch of things, yeah.
All right. One more question. What does it mean when a muscle fiber has a high threshold of activation? And how do you train that?
High level of activation. It won't respond unless you're screaming. So muscles respond depending on the volume or the amplitude, the electrical amplitude of the signal. So believe it or not, okay, you have magnitude of signal here, which is electric, okay? And then you have your time here, right now. Believe it or not, the ones with the lowest, the ones that are first called for any movements are the slow twitch. Slow twitch are here, fast twitch are here. And of course these are like your 2Bs that are couch potatoes that unless you hit a lot of adrenaline or super high training, you can't access those guys, okay? So when I throw a signal, if I'm walking, the signals are down here. These calf muscles and these slow twitch leg muscles, they're picking this up. They're the first ones called, by the way. But now I want to jump on this box. I can't do it with that kind of whisper. Okay, I need to scream. These guys are low threshold. These guys are high threshold. So now, okay, let's say that there's 8 fibers. Okay, 8 levels of fibers. Stan's labs showed about 8 now. Who knows how many there are? Bottom line is, first we call it. It goes like this. Boom. This guy picks up, says, I can't do the move. It's too much. I have a small motor unit, and it's not. I don't have a whole lot of fibers to work with. Then this guy's called. I can't do it. This guy, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'll do it. Okay? High threshold, low threshold. But it goes in this order. The guys with the low thresholds are the first ones to hear the signals, but they pass, they like, we can't do that. We don't have that much starch to us. We don't have that much motor units, that much kind of fibers, and that's what we mean by high threshold, low threshold. Fast, explosive stuff now, we can get this done easy.
Okay.
Cool?
Cool. That's it. All right, guys, that's episode 1, 2017. Again, on behalf of IHP, we wish everybody a Happy New Year. See you in a couple weeks.